Hey guys, it's Coffeeyay. Just doing more hand history reviews. So, looking at specific tough spots and trying to find optimal lines. Enjoy.
Right. Uh, Flats, yes. Cool. I'm check raising here, not all in. I'm intending to three barrel. Ooh, just intending to barrel turn. I mean, not three barrel. Well, probably three barrel. But this is suddenly a little bit of a weird spot when he min check raises. It's still a pretty decent spot to check raise. It depends again on your reads. If our villain is using this as a standard sizing, I would probably flat and, as I would do with most of my range and delay action to the turn and likely check raise turn. If this is just a random thing, I'm still probably check raising. I think that there are enough queen high, king high type hands to fold out here. And obviously ace high and pair fours even to fold out once we barrel. So readless, I would check raise here, probably like 80. I think we can go a little bit bigger, squeeze out some more folds. I mean, we don't actually want him floating us with king high or something. I mean, the reason we're check raising is to fold out equity share. So we should likely check raise a little bit bigger. Yeah, we're barreling here. It's not our favorite turn card, but if we three barrel here, I'm pretty confident we fold out a huge chunk of his range. Again, obviously it's not our favorite turn card because, an eight's more likely to stick, to call a turn bet. Even a 4 maybe is a little bit more likely. But we do rep the 10 well. And it is a little bit unlike, we do have to discount 10s a little bit from his range. Both because there aren't as many combos because the 10 came out, and also just because he flatted our check raise. I mean, and min c-bet. I mean, all those things scream that he's probably unlikely to have a 10, unless it's like 10-8, or, pocket 10s, or pocket 8s. I mean, those are the kind of hands that maybe he would min c-bet, flat the non-all-in raise. Flat the check raise. So I would barrel here. I would probably bet something like 100, and we're still able to ship rivers. Yeah, fine, cool. And yeah, shoving this river very happily. I think at this point we do fold out a huge chunk of his range. I think that, an 8x almost always folds, a 4x always folds, and obviously ace high, king high, any other random floats, any other straight draws. I mean, there are hands like queen jack, other jack 9, 9-7. Well, 9-7 we beat, but, they might bluff. By shoving, we also deprive them the ability to bluff any, like, misdraws that would fold us out. So, yeah, I would be shoving here. Don't really like the check. And yeah, I really think that we do fold out 8-7. I mean, again, it's very close. I mean, if you read on the population, I'm not sure what stakes this is at. So, I mean, if your read of the population is that, he's never folding an 8 here, then yeah, I mean, well checked. Although at that point, we should probably check the turn. Arguably, we're not actually getting any folds on the turn at that point if he's not, ever going to fold an 8 to 2 streets of aggression. Yeah, I guess we fold out a 4, so it's close. I mean, I guess we can bet the turn and give up river, but I really think that we should just ship. I really think we fold out an 8, and again, if we're not folding out pairs, then likely we should even just flat the flop. Like, if we're not actually getting fold equity, then why are we semi-bluffing? Like, there's no reason to semi-bluff if we don't get fold equity. We got perfect odds to flat on the flop. So if your perception of the population tendencies is not folding an 8 to aggression, then we should just be flatting on the flop likely. But my perception is that, he will be folding this kind of an 8 on the river, so we should just ship the river, and he's basically always folding. Fine. Okay, check back, yeah. Yeah, I like the stab here because it's such a dry board. I don't really see a reason to bet 30. I would either min bet or bet 40. Like, I use 30 as a value bet because I think that it gets the same range as 20 calling, which obviously means it's not a great bluff. I don't know. It's very close. It's something that I've even had. I remember having a little brief discussion with Mares about at some point, like, what kind of sizings to use. I mean, if we do believe this folds out a marginally bigger share, then it is worth it. I mean, it's not that hard to find the criteria that, if this folds out more, it's worth it to bet more. Overall, I mean, I think that because it's such a dry board, I tend to just min bet and bet the turn as well. And I'm pretty happy that I get enough folds on the flop. We only need 33%, and then I'm usually getting enough folds on the turn as well because he maybe float a little wider. I don't know. It's very close. Wouldn't worry about it too much. betting this turn. You know, we need to put his range on quite a lot of overcards. Obviously, Queen's not our favorite card, um, because it does hit some of his overcards, but we need to remember that his overcard range is very wide. And so, you know, not all of it hits the Queen. And, you know, a lot more of it probably hits the King as well. So, I mean, it is a limped pot, so Queen's not our favorite turn card. But again, I think this is good enough. Bet here, probably like 50 or 60. Fine. Cool. And now we're in a gross spot. Here I would just give up. You know, not only did he call the turn, which makes us, you know, very unhappy. I really think he folds out basically all of his overcards, all his hands. But, you know, if he did elect to stick around, a king's not helping us. I mean, it's obviously a little close because I really do expect him to fold king highs on the turn. So, you know, the king doesn't actually help. So, I mean, it's much closer to wanting to bet here. At the same time, I just think that once he calls the turn, there just aren't that many hands that are going to be folding the river. Like, I really think that our bet flop, bet turn line already folded out basically all of his range. So, but, you know, the river bet's pretty close. Again, especially since the king is actually surprisingly sort of good card. I still think there are some random king X, but it's a very small part of his range because most of it folded flop return. And obviously it's a scare card for other hands, but overall I think we should give up. Yeah, that's mostly what I would be putting on. Okay, I flat this pre-up, fine. This is actually kind of close to a donk, to be honest. I have found that most fish actually continue wider versus a donk than they c-bet. It's surprising, but yeah, I mean, I've had that fish fold to donks less often than they actually c-bet. It's close, though, and you know, so, you know, it's not our favorite thing, but otherwise, I'm likely check calling. There's obviously no real value in check raising, that's fine. At this point, I would donk. This isn't a card that is going to be bet very often, even by ace-x. I think that a lot of fish actually check back this turn with ace-x, both to sort of, you know, try to bluff catch rivers, also because they're scared of tens. They just perceive their hand as not having value in the spot, which is possibly true. And so this is definitely a spot that I would be looking to donk versus a fish. Fine, and as played, we're, I mean, given the fact that he is betting here, it makes it much closer to actually just wanting to just get it in. I wouldn't min check raise here because I think that actually probably might scare the fish, and, you know, he's never going to, like, shove over him in check raise. We could consider just shipping here, and, you know, I think the idea is that his range is going to be so ace-x heavy that we're going to get value that way. And otherwise, if we check call here versus ace-x, it's not that likely he'll bet the river, to be honest. Like, if he's betting this turn, it's not, you know, fish don't three barrel that much for value. You know, especially thin-ish value, not like trips. So, if we shove here, I really think that, you know, we're getting called off by a lot worse. There's also flush draws, straight draws, which, you know, fish is likely calling us off here with as well. So, I think I'm shoving, especially, again, since we also can rep some draws. Like, I mean, a fish doesn't hand read well, so I think I'm shoving here, but it's very close to check calling. That's fine. And then, you know, because, again, I'm a little bit concerned that fish aren't value betting that much on this river, I probably would just open shove, but it's close. I think check calling is fine. I don't really see a reason to bet 150. I think it just makes life even worse. I would just probably shove here. We could also bet like 299 maybe. I mean, if we want to be cute, we could bet 299, assuming that, you know, again, fish tend to fall for subconscious tricks. 299 looks subconsciously significantly smaller than 300 or all in for that matter. So, you know, he might just call before thinking about it too much. So I think that 299 here is another very good option, but it's close. Again, I really think, though, that we should have led the turn, and then the river is just an easy ship, you know, for much, much thicker value than this bet is, because this really looks too strong. So I really don't like, and I really don't like this sizing. I think we just get even fewer folds and even less value versus the hands that do call. Sorry, even fewer calls and even less value versus the hands that do call. So I really don't like that sizing. Right. Fine. So we just ship here. Yeah, I don't like. There's really just no. I mean, we're so shallow. Like fish are just calling so light in this kind of spot after limping. I mean, it's close. I mean, there are. I can see arguments for raising not all in, but not for raising small not all in. I mean, all we're doing here is asking for him to to flat here with Jack 10 or 10-8, and you know, and stack us on the flop when he hits, and fold otherwise. Like all we're asking for him to do is make a correct flat. So I really don't like this. I mean, if you're going to raise to like 99 or 95 or something big. I mean, at least 3x. And frankly, I think probably shoving at this depth is marginally better. And yeah, as played, we're in a super gross spot where all of his range hit. I don't even know what's best here. If we had bet bigger, it's a pretty easy just bet call, although we're not really happy about it. As played, I think I'm actually check calling. Because, like, when we bet here, I really think he's just going to stack off with all his pairs. And so all we're doing when we bet here is getting it in versus pairs and folding out everything else. I think that if we check call, first off, there's some bluffs in his range. We also keep the, you know, when he does have value, we don't give it as much value, but we still realize our equity share. Furthermore, when he checks back, I mean, we're still not so unhappy because we get closer to realizing our equity share and can bet. You know, the more I think about it, actually, maybe even check shoving is not a terrible option. Because, you know, you might bet with flush draws and call it off. It's all, I mean, every line here is pretty gross. I think that, you know, again, shoving but, you know, if we had bet bigger, if the pot here was closer to 200, it would make life a lot easier. I mean, we would have less than 200 behind. It would be a pretty clear spot where we could just bet call. You know, we could actually bet kind of small, try to induce him, be really happy that we're getting it in correctly. As played, I mean, I almost think that when he shoves over, we should be folding, which is really gross. And as played, when he flats us here, again, it's just such a weird spot. I mean, we can shove here for some value, plus we might fold out a 6. Or 9. Yeah, probably open shoving here is best. The other option, again, is just to check call. That's fine. Yeah, he's going to check back a lot. And then river, I would probably just check call again. Although this is not a terrible spot to, like, bet small. No, we don't have enough value to bet small. Yeah, just check fold. Check call or check... Actually, probably check fold because the flush came out. There's just no reason to shove here. Like, what are we shoving for? A bluff? We beat a lot of hands. I don't really see a reason to turn our hand into a bluff here, especially since we're not getting that many folds. Like, I'm not even convinced the 6 folds to our line, especially with the two, you know, with the turd river combo as it is. Yeah, we got called by a 6. Yeah, really. Yeah, I think overall this line is